I'm Mr. Mega Man Fan. This is the PC Engine Files, and you're looking at Morita Shougi PC, which simply means Kazuo Morita's Shogi for the PC Engine slash TurboGrafx 16 if you're using SSD 3 or an EverDrive. But the question, of course, is would you want to do that? That's what the PC Engine Files is all about, so I'm going to explain this game a little bit. Shogi is referred to as the Japanese game of chess. It may at first appear to look like chess, but it's on a 9x9 grid instead of the 8x8 that most chess players, in North America at least, would be familiar with. Probably Europe as well. So there's a different set of rules that apply to shogi as compared to chess. For example, these pawns in the front row can only move up one space at the start, whereas in the traditional chess, or perhaps I shouldn't say traditional because Japanese chess is probably older than what I call traditional chess, so let me say European chess. I'm used to chess where a pawn can move two spaces forward at the start, but in shogi, you can only move one. And being that it's on a 9x9 grid, I'm not at all sure what the movements are for individual pieces like the knights, the rooks, the kings, the queens, and it probably doesn't help that many of them are being portrayed here as mythological beasts to give it more of a role-playing game element. For example, this wyvern-looking thing can clearly move on diagonal lines, which is what the AI of the computer opponent was setting up, but I didn't know that going in, so I just lost a pawn right away at the beginning. Not that that's really a bad thing, pawns are always expendable. You generally want to use them to set up other things, but it would have been helpful for me to know which monsters or which pieces on the board can move in different directions. I finally figured out which ones were the knights, and those, like knights from European chess, move up and to the right or up and to the left. They always move in a L shape, or if you want to call it a Tetris rotated L, that's fine too, whatever you would describe that as. So it probably helps if you know Japanese chess going into this, which I did not. And that is not the only thing that I will say is a deficit to this. My incompetence at Japanese chess should not necessarily be a reflection on the game. What is a reflection on the game is the incredibly tediously slow movement of each of the pieces as they are animated to go from one square to the next. This is like Star Wars chess. If you've played versions of it that have the incredibly tedious animations of Chewbacca walking from one square to the next, it takes him forever to get there. There are some versions for certain consoles that speed it up a little. I think the Sega CD is one of the better ones from what I recall, but the premise is, of course, fun. You want to see Star Wars characters doing battle with each other, but when you have to wait so freaking long for your pieces to move, it kind of takes the fun away from it. Which, even if I knew Japanese chess rules and understood the movements on a 9x9 grid, which I'm not able to formulate in my head because part of chess is thinking two or three moves ahead and planning where your opponent's going to be and where you're going to be. And on an 8x8 grid, I have a decent grasp of that. Not an expert chess player by any stretch of the imagination, but I at least know what I'm doing to some degree. Here, I don't, because the movement options are completely different with the different spaces and the different sets, and it is extremely frustrating trying to do this with a TurboGrafx controller or any sort of keyboard emulation controller if you're doing it that way, as I'm filming this through an emulator to show it all to you. It's just, you want to click on it with a mouse. Good chess games on a computer, you can just drag and drop your pieces and it happens right away, and it's fast and it's fun. It's easy to battle your AI opponent or a human opponent, whatever you're choosing to do, you just drag and drop, drag and drop, drag and drop, drag and drop. Here you got to tediously move your cursor to the piece, then move the piece where you want it to go. And if you don't know the rules of shogi, then what you think is a legal move turns out to not be a legal move, and you end up getting stuck. And because I can't read the Japanese text, I started getting error messages, which I assume were telling me that I was leaving my king vulnerable and that I couldn't do a purposefully illegal move like that, so it wasn't going to let me. Had I understood that, it would have been a lot better. But I just hit a brick wall at that point, and I was like, this is slow, this is tedious, this is not doing it for me. Kazuo Morita, I'm sure you are a famous Japanese board game designer, and I highly respect you, sir, but I don't feel like this is a necessary game for me to play on a TurboGrafx or a PC Engine or an emulator or SSD3 or any freaking way that you can do it. I'm not going to recommend this game. Not every game I showed you on the PC Engine files is something that I would say go out of your way to play. This is definitely not one of those. If you're looking for a cheap game to increase the size of your collection, that might be the only reason to go for this one. You can buy a copy for $17, roundabout, a little more, a little less. Shipping's going to vary depending on what country it comes from, so it's not among the most expensive PC Engine hue cards that are out there, but there's probably a reason for that. I wouldn't say Morita Shougi PC is the kind of title that's in demand because it's cute or charming or a shoot 'em up or a platformer or any combination of those things. It's no Koryun. It's not going to do it for me. Maybe if you're a die-hard shogi player who really understands Japanese chess and knows the rule set and isn't impeded by the Japanese language barrier when you get an error message, there's some enjoyment to be derived from this. I will say they're trying. I like the fact that they used mythical, fantastical, role-playing game style monsters for the chess pieces. A for effort, it's fine. And they wanted to animate it and make it look cool. Again, A for effort, F- in execution. I don't know what else to add other than that. I would just say thank you to all of the regular viewers of this channel. If you're new to Mr. Mega Man Fan, please consider subscribing, hit that like button, share the PC Engine files. New episodes air every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I appreciate all your support, and hopefully next time when I see you again, the game will be a little more fun for each and every one of us.